Most founders think they need product market fit to scale. Wrong. You need something way more important. Killer application. Once you find your killer application, product market fit is inevitable. So let's talk about the product market fit trap. So this typically looks like having a decent product. You maybe have a few customers, you're looking at daily active users, you're looking at, NPS scores, maybe you're kind of trying to understand, customer feedback and, from calls and sales sessions and things like that. And you're kind of asking yourself, do we have product market fit? Do we feel like we're getting there? And the harsh truth is, if you're asking yourself that, you don't have product market fit. But here's the worst news. You're actually asking the wrong question. Product market fit has become this holy grail that founders chase and become really obsessed with. And we treat it like a binary switch, something that you have or that you don't have. The problem with this is there are a bunch of false signals that would indicate product market fit, and people start to feel very good about and very confident about, but it's actually nothing to do with growth metrics. So they end up being totally useless for predicting, real success and real long-term growth and adoption. So people look at their beta having 500 users sign up, or they look at getting a mention in press, or they look at, for example, a piece of good feedback from a customer. So I understand why some of these sorts of metrics would seem like great indication of product market fit and give you this kind of false sense of progress, but essentially they're much closer to a vanity metric than they are to a growth metric. And that's essentially because they don't indicate what actual progress looks like. So 500 people sign up to your beta, that's great, but that doesn't mean anything if you don't retain any of them. Or TechCrunch says it likes your UI, that's not going to necessarily turn somebody into a buyer. And if you get some good customer feedback, that's really great, but it doesn't tell you what isn't working well. And this is really one of the trickiest areas of going to market and building a product and trying to grow it, because it's very easy to fall into one of these traps where you kind of are measuring the wrong things, especially when you're chasing that product market fit kind of big picture idea, and it ends up looking like iterating and building a million different features and trying to target a million different audiences. So you end up spreading yourself really thin, and you also end up kind of building this Swiss Army knife when what your customers really need is a scalpel. And if you're honest with yourself, think about your last sprint. How many features did you prioritize? Was it 3, 5, 10, 12? Like, how many different audiences are you honing in on? It's probably at least 2. Typically, people take these broad approaches trying to desperately lock down product market fit, and it's kind of the worst thing you can do. The best thing you can do is become more and more niche. So what's the cure? It's all about adopting that killer application mindset. Instead of hunting down product market fit and using these vanity metrics to kind of gauge how close you're getting, you should be looking for your killer application. It's not a killer feature, it's not, a value proposition, it's your killer application. This is the one thing that you can do much better than anybody else, so that for your audience, it's undeniable that they need to choose you. You can't just be an alternative to your competitors. You have to be irreplaceable to your customers. So let's walk through some examples of what I mean. So let's take Slack. They didn't find product market fit by building team communication software. That's way too broad. They literally found their killer application when they realized they could completely eliminate the nightmare of email threads. So for small development teams, this was a game changer. And they weren't targeting all teams, they weren't looking at all communication. They were looking specifically at email thread replacement. One specific, urgent, painful use case where they were 10 times better than anything else. And for example, Zoom didn't win by building, any sort of communication tool or software. Zoom's killer application was extremely simple. Instant, frictionless video meetings that worked without downloads, without plugins, without IT approval. One click, you're in a meeting, and that's it. And let's look at Airbnb's killer application. It wasn't travel accommodation. It was giving cash-strapped hosts a way to make rent money during major events when hotels were booked solid. It was super specific, very urgent, and very valuable. So did you notice the pattern? Each one of these examples started with one niche, very specific use case where they could be completely dominant. Not just a competitor, not just in the market, not parity, but complete dominance. Your killer application is the smallest, most unique, most specific use case where you deliver 10x value. It's going to be that one use case where customers can't imagine going back to how they used to do things. So how do you figure out what your killer application is? Well, these are the 3 steps to take. Step 1, you want to isolate the pain spikes. So we need to stop looking at, what users are doing in their overall general workflow. Stop focusing on, the end-to-end necessarily. Focus on the core specific challenge that's most difficult and most painful for users and deliver a solution for that. So when does their current solution completely break down? When are they most desperate for an alternative? These pain spikes, these specific moments in time where the user's problems become absolutely urgent and their current solution fails them spectacularly, that's your opportunity. So for Slack, it was when a dev team needed to, ship a new feature and the team couldn't find what the conversation was because they were going through 42 different email threads. For Zoom, it was when you needed to jump on an urgent client call and you had to spend 10 minutes downloading a solution before just joining and being able to speak to your client, and they were waiting that whole time. That is a pain spike. Your killer application lives at these pain spikes. Observe them, study them, obsess over them, and solve them. Step 2, figure out what that pain spike is and over-deliver on it. Once you've found your pain spike, pick exactly one dimension where you're going to be 10 times better. Not just 20% better, not just a bit better, not okay compared to the competitors. No, you need to be 10 times better than your nearest competitor. You need to outperform them in this one key thing. So maybe it's speed, you can make it faster. Maybe it's cost, you can make it cheaper or maybe even free for everybody doing that one thing. Maybe it's reliability, you can make it bulletproof when everyone else's solution crashes. Maybe it's ease, you can make it a one-click onboarding when everybody else's version, takes tons of steps. Pick one, just one, and pour everything into it. Become so obviously superior that customers cannot deny it. So Slack became 10 times better at helping dev teams communicate. Zoom became 10 times better than any other video tool at quick, easy, seamless calls. Airbnb was 10 times better at availability when hotels were all booked up and it was complicated and hosts didn't have a way to utilize their spare room. And step 3, you want to prove reliability fast. Here's where most founders mess up. They find one customer who loves their solution and they kind of think they've cracked the code, but that's not repeatability. That's just one anecdote. Your killer application needs to work across multiple customers with minimal variation. Same pain spike, same 10x solution, same can't live without it reaction. You want to test this ruthlessly. Take this same solution to 10 different customers with the same pain spike, engage whether you're getting that same I can't live without this response. Do they all immediately want to switch? Do they demonstrate the same urgent response? If not, you haven't found your killer application. Keep looking. But when the answer is yes, and you can deliver that same sense of urgency and desperation for this solution from all your customers, that's when you know you found it. So this is how you find your killer application. And when you do, you'll find that product market fit is kind of just a symptom. It just comes with the territory. And ultimately, this is how you create your flywheel of momentum. The more people who are obsessed with your product, the more they talk about it. You get use cases, you get, trust, and you can build that momentum with all of that positive feedback and endorsements from people you've helped. When you nail your killer application, the market comes to you. Adjacent use cases become obvious. Expansion opportunities emerge naturally. So your killer application really does become something much bigger, but it starts with ruthless focus on one thing. One pain spike, one 10x solution, one killer application. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope this was helpful. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe if it was. I am rooting for you. Until next time.